Hi, I'm Alyson the Crocheter.
And I'm Vivian the Knitter, and you're listening to Keep Calm and Carry On.
Hello, and welcome to episode 69 of Keep Calm and Carry Yarn. This is a knitting and crocheting podcast hosted by me and my mom, Vivian. I'm recording from my home here in Edinburgh.
And I'm recording from my home here in Virginia.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Hope everyone's doing okay.
Yeah.
We are I feel like with the last episode, we had a guest and we were doing video, and now it's just the two of us and we're just doing audio. It's crazy
back
times.
to audio.
Crazy times back to normal times.
Yep. The lighting is not very good right now. It's rainy and dreary. And there's still construction going on in my neighborhood, so this will be easier.
Mm-hmm.
So we have, what do we have? We have a special thank you to Violet, spelled with a 0, on Ravelry. She said hello, and she took our podiversary quiz, and she says that she's basically a copy of me, Vivian. And right now she's obsessed with Tunisian crochet. Right up your alley.
Cool. Hi, Violet.
Hello.
I'm sorry you weren't able to come over to Scotland for your holiday.
Yeah, but hopefully
She mentioned that as
everybody
well.
is healthy in her family and she's doing well.
Yeah, and you'll just have to come back some other time.
Yeah, when we're back to normal, whenever that's going to be.
Cool. Well, we've got a BuzzFeed quiz this week.
Yep.
As always.
Yep.
And you picked it.
I picked this one.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, which Umbrella Academy character are you?
So obviously I knew that you'd been watching it because you asked me if I was watching it, but I guess it's not a show that I'm surprised you're watching, but I didn't really think that you were watching it.
Well, okay. Let's backtrack a bit. The Umbrella Academy is a show on Netflix, and they just released the second season just a couple weeks ago, I think. And we didn't watch the first season. I was aware of it because I knew somebody in my bubble or was watching it. I didn't know if it was you or one of the other girls.
It was me.
But anyway, so I was aware of it, and your dad actually came across it, and he's like, "Oh, this looks good. Let's watch this." So
you watch it together. Did he actually stick with it?
Yes, we actually. At one point, he got mad, and he's like, "I don't want to watch it anymore," and he just pretty much just walked away from the TV. And then he thought a particular character had died. And I'm like, well, I'm still watching it. And I watched the next episode. I'm like, she's not dead. She's not dead. Come back. She survived. And he's like, fine.
That made him mad.
It made him mad. He didn't want to watch it. So anyway, yeah, I was, well, let's talk about the quiz.
Yeah. So, in case anyone doesn't know, it is a Netflix show, and it's sort of superhero-y-ish. Yeah. So I got the boy / number 5.
So did I.
Did you get that as well? Okay. So it says, you may have a baby face, but you're often regarded as the wisest in your friend group. You definitely have an old soul to match your youthful spirit. Never doubt your ability to make real changes in this world, kid.
That's pretty funny that we got the same thing again.
Yeah.
Yeah. We both do have baby faces.
Yeah.
So that's
true. Asian.
It's Asian. Though I mean, even among Asians, I think we both have baby faces. And I'm not sure about the old soul and the youthful spirit. I think youthful spirit. That I think that describes me. I don't know. I might be wrong.
I'll take wisest in my friend group, sure.
Yeah. We can talk about the show in our Nerdtastic if you want to.
We can. But let's see, for the quiz, I think the most important question is, which donut did you pick?
Oh, the donut. I just picked the humble glazed donut.
See, I don't I was gonna say I don't like regular glazed donuts, but if it's a good donut, I'll I can eat a regular glazed, but that doesn't look like the picture doesn't look like a good
Well, that looks like it
donut.
could be a Krispy
That's,
Kreme glazed donut, and I used to love Krispy Kreme
maybe,
glazed
yeah.
donuts until we,
I just went for chocolate
well, I
glazed.
have to say until we moved to New Hampshire. And there's a local bakery that makes the best glazed donuts ever, and it's almost like twice as big as a Krispy Kreme. And so anyway, they're really good. And then one day we were traveling, and I was like, "Oh, I haven't had Krispy Kreme in a long time." And there was a Krispy Kreme at the airport or something, and we bought some. And I took a bite into it. I was like, it's not as good as I remember it to be. I like, I do like a good chocolate donut if it's got chocolate and it's glazed. I don't like it if it's just chocolate.
Hmm. I think the picture looks like it's just chocolate.
Yeah, that's why I didn't pick it.
I see. What about an early 2000s song to jam out to?
Didn't really know. Well, I guess I do know a few of the songs, but I just said "Hey Ya" by Outkast.
Yeah, so I recognize, yeah, most of them. I didn't bother to like look up, so I can. So it was "Get Your Freak On" by Missy Elliott, "Thong Song" by Cisco, "A Thousand Miles" by Vanessa Carlton, "Wherever Whenever" by Shakira, which is the one I picked.
Uh huh.
And then there's "I'm Like a Bird" by Nelly Furtado, and then yeah, "Hey Ya." But yeah, I went
Nelly
for
Furtado.
Shakira.
I don't know though. I'd have to hear the "Wherever Whenever." I don't
Oh
know
God, I'm
that
not
one
singing.
off the
I'm
top of
absolutely
my
not
head.
singing for you.
No, I didn't expect. But I want to
Uh,
know which member of the commission did you pick? Would you want to be for the day?
I went for the handler because
Oh,
she's
so did I.
well, yeah, because she's the highest up
Well,
of
yeah,
them.
she doesn't generally get her hands dirty. She doesn't actually
Yeah,
have to do the killings,
yeah,
and she has a fantastic wardrobe.
yeah. Uh,
So yeah, I picked that one too.
I feel like, but she's the most in the know as well. So
Yeah, she knows what's going on.
yeah,
She's the one that's pulling all the strings.
yes, or so it seems.
Oh, which superhero did you pick that you relate to the most?
Okay,
I had a
so
hard time with that
well,
one.
I had a hard time just because I was just like, ugh, I don't know, because I was like, well, definitely not Batman, definitely not Superman. And I was like, no, I don't think Black Panther or Spider Man either. I ended up going for Storm.
Hmm. I picked Wonder Woman, but it was between Wonder Woman, Spider Man, and Storm.
Mm,
Woman and Storm because they're the only two women in there. Spider Man because he's plucky.
yeah. Is that how you're describing yourself nowadays?
I don't know. Maybe. Uh,
Uh,
but Wonder Woman I picked because she's strong.
yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay.
Right.
Yep. That was our BuzzFeed. So hopefully some of our listeners have watched The Umbrella
And
Academy
know
and
what
are
we're talking
actually
about.
yeah.
But when you messaged me about the show, you
Uh-huh.
did specifically mention the actor who plays number five because you were saying he does a really good job because he's even though he's a kid, the actor obviously,
Actor's
he
like 15 or something like
yeah
that
he plays an old man in a kid's body and it's quite
in
good.
a kid's body. I
He's very
thought
good
he
at it.
did, and I think he stole the show. I think he did an excellent job just channeling old man.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Unless he's like that all the time. He might be an only child and be surrounded by old people all the time. So that's just the way he is. Who knows? But I thought he just did a really good job uh just acting and being in the shoes of an old man, but in a 13-year-old's body.
I think it's funny how he doesn't never change his outfit. Like he's still in that
Yeah.
like schoolboy outfit the whole time.
Yeah.
Feels
In
no
the
need to change out
shorts.
of it. Yeah, in the shorts and his knobbly knees.
Yeah, he does change his top and his knobbly knees. That's good. And what is somebody said? Hey, oh, called him culottes. Hey, you
Uh,
culottes, because of his shorts. Yeah,
um,
that's a funny show. I really liked it.
but yeah, we can talk about it
Um,
later. Later.
okay, let's talk about the stuff that people actually came to listen to.
Mhm.
Whips.
Yes. Will I go first?
Sure, I'll go.
Okay.
So, I only have one whip to talk about, really, because, um, just because. I started The Humulus by Isabell Kraemer.
What's it called?
Humulus.
Cumulus. I thought you said
Humulus.
cumulus, like as
And I
in the
did put it
cloud.
in our notes with a
Uh-huh.
link. And I am using stash yarn because, because. And it's a dark purple, which is an Ella Ray worsted, and a Madelintosh DK twist. And the DK is a lime green, and it's got a colorwork yoke.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm already done with the colorwork, or I'm
Time
on
to
the
start a
last
new
row
one.
of the colorwork. And I only started 5 days ago, 6 days ago, something like
Oh,
that.
Jesus. That's a I don't know if that's a color combination that I would think that you would go for. The sort of neon and green with
Okay,
the
well, it's
purple.
not for me, for one
Oh,
thing.
okay.
And it's worsted weight. I'm not going to be wearing worsted weight
Oh,
anytime
true.
soon.
Uh-huh.
And it's amazing how fast worsted weight sweaters go compared to fingering weight sweaters. It's for one of my little nieces, who's not so little anymore. She is 14, and she's the size of an adult. She's just thick thin, so it'll probably be a little bit oversized on her because
Uh-huh.
she's very skinny.
String bean.
Uh, but she's a string bean. But her favorite color is like in the blue and green family. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I don't have any blues that's has a sweater weight quantity, but I have purple
Uh-huh.
that's almost blue, and there's green in it. So okay, that's good. If she doesn't like it, tough noogies. At least I tried. I used stash yarn, and her sister will probably like it anyway. So
She'll
that's
get it
yeah.
as a
So it's a
hand-me-down.
Christmas present.
I
I'm
see.
trying to knit my Christmas presents from stash yarn as much as possible because my stash is it's substantial.
Sizable?
It is sizable, sizably substantial. And well, the problem is
Mm.
I don't I don't really have that many sweater weight quantities of yarn. I do have a few in fingering
Yeah.
weight. When Hub Mills and Classic Elite went out of business, I bought a bunch of fingering weight sweater weight
Sweatity.
sweater weight
Sweatity.
quantities. But I'm not going to make a fingering weight sweater for one of those to give away because it would just take me too long.
Also, they would grow out of it.
Yeah, by the time I finish it, they probably would grow out of. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
making one for Madeline, but she's
Yeah, and she's done growing, so
yeah, she is done growing.
so describe the actual pattern of the
So the actual pattern, it has a round yoke. There's only one contrast color,
contrasting. Uh-huh. Yeah.
and it is called Humulus because it is the botanical name for hops.
Ah, okay. See, I was gonna say they look like pine cones, but yeah, they
Yeah.
look like hops as well. Mm-hmm.
On the website, it says Humulus is a lovely sweater that celebrates
You're giving
the
her a
elegant
beer
hop
sweater?
flower. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but it's the flower. The plant is described as zesty, piney, earthy, and floral.
You're giving her a beer flower.
I just
Or
really
a beer
like
sweater.
She doesn't have to know it's a beer sweater. It doesn't look like it's beer. It's just
Yeah.
what beer is made out of.
It
That's
it
fine.
Yeah, I think they also look like pine cones, sort of.
Yeah, so it could be a pine cone sweater.
Yeah. Cool.
You know me about with all the Isabell Kraemer
Yeah.
sweaters. How many have I knit
A
so
lot.
far? Probably more than one hand worth of fingers.
One hand worth of fingers, right? Okay.
So more than 5.
The color, the sort of bright green you've picked as well, is kind of the color of hops as well. Like
It's bright
yeah,
green.
they can be like quite a bright.
It's like a
Okay,
lime
maybe
green.
not quite lime.
Well, I
but
bought this lime green. I mean, even though it is slightly thinner than the worsted weight, it's working. And I bought the lime green a while ago because I thought I was gonna match it with a different color for a hat, and I ended up not using it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just had it literally rolling around in my stash because it was already wound up and
Uh-huh.
stuff. So I think it looks. I like the contrast, the
Yeah,
green
I
and the
think it's
purple.
nice. I think I wouldn't personally wear that color combination, but
It's very high contrast, that's for
yeah, it's
sure.
very colorful. I think that's the main thing. I don't wear super colorful things.
But you're not a
Yeah,
14-year-old
that's
girl, so
that's also
it's
true.
fine. Okay, so that is pretty much my only whip because I didn't work on anything else.
Mm-hmm. Um,
What do you have?
so I got an old whip that will remain a whip for a while, but I'm working on my scrap granny stripe blanket again.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of picked it up because I finished the commission that I did, and I wanted something that was just like turn my brain off and just like go. Uh,
Mm-hmm. And you can't even talk about your commission
yeah, no,
either,
not
right?
yet. But yeah, so it's just yeah, granny stripes. I think it's wide enough to go over our double bed. Like I don't know if there would
Mm-hmm.
be like much over the sides, but it would just cover it. But it would definitely be wide enough for like a single bed. But I figure I'll just make
Mm-hmm.
it a massive rectangle, and then you can always just make if you finished it, you could do extra rectangles on the side of it or something if you wanted to make it bigger or wider or yeah.
Oh, if you want to make a
Yeah,
border
or
or
something.
something.
But you
Mm-hmm.
gave me this plastic bag full of your scrap yarns. So that's
Mm-hmm.
definitely made it more colorful now. Like I think a lot of
Oh,
yeah,
yay.
so because I most of my scraps were sort of blues and grays,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so I've got more colors because of what you've given me.
So how are the self-striping yarns looking in there?
Um, they just kind of end up being, let's see. I think you gave me one that's they're sometimes hard to find because they're long stripes. So,
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see. I see one row where it's like gradually turning into a different
yeah, so
color
like it'll go from
in
like
one row.
the blue to the orange to the lavender to the orange to the pink. And yeah, so with the self striping ones, it's like sudden changes, so it almost looks like it could be a new yarn. Um,
Mm-hmm. I'll have more for you next time I see you, whenever the heck that
nice. I
is.
think I've pretty much doubled it in size from when I last picked it up. That makes sense
Mm-hmm.
because that's just been sort of sitting in a bag. It's kind of like scarf sized at the moment. So I'm just working on that. And then the other thing is a knitting project. So, when I went to the Unravel Festival at the beginning of the year, there was a stand for Made and Worn, which is an app, one of
Mm-hmm.
those knitting apps that you can that do like custom knitting patterns.
Yeah, did you talk about it on the podcast, or I know
I
you
think I
told
told you
me
about it,
about
but I
it.
haven't talked about it yet because I didn't want to talk about it until I tried to do something.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the idea being that you pick a pattern and it's customizable because you can like say, you want a certain to use this stitch pattern, or you want to do stripes or something, and then you measure your gauge swatch and then type in your gauge swatch, and then it calculates the pattern for you based off of your measurements and
Mm-hmm.
your own gauge. So
And is this a free app or is it a paid
I
for app?
think the app is free, or it's a website, but you pay for the
Uh-huh.
patterns.
I see.
Um, so I'm trying a pattern for free, and it's just like the plain mitts. They're just like plain stockinette stitch fingerless mitts, which is fine because I
Mm-hmm.
don't really knit, so simple is good. So I did my gauge swatch, and so with the gauge swatch, you don't do your gauge swatch and then tell it like I've got this many stitches in 10 centimeters and this many rows. You do the gauge swatch
Uh,
exactly like they tell you to, with exactly 14 stitches by however many rows, with the border around, is it garter stitch borders around it?
Uh-huh.
And then
Mm-hmm.
asks you to measure the stitches in between the border and then to give you that measurement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I didn't realize that to begin with. But but yeah, so I'm just working on the first one. I've done it's in a dark color, so it'd be hard to show you, but I've done the rib. I'm on the stockinette part. And so the actual pattern on the website, obviously for this pattern, it's super simple. Like it just says knit this row, purl this row, but you can like tracks your rows as well. So you
Mm-hmm.
just press next, next, next with each row.
Is it customizable? Does it have like you can add cables or patterning or anything, or no? Or not in
Uh,
this pattern?
so I think with this pattern, you could buy the pattern as the stockinette or a moss stitch. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Mitts. So I just bought the stockinette.
I see. Okay. How do you like it so far?
Yes, it's going okay. I don't know. Like knitting feels weird because it's knitting, but I just picked this because this yarn, this pattern, whatever, because this is the only knitting needles I have is the one you gave me. So
I
it
didn't give you those cords though.
no, these are the cords for my Tunisian hooks.
Oh, and they fit? Cool.
Yeah, they fit. But I just happened this was yarn that I used for my crocheted fingerless mitts. So I have crocheted ones and knitted ones. It's Joe's Story British Barefaced DK, and it's blue face Leicester and baby alpaca, so it's very soft.
I was gonna say it looks very soft.
Yeah. But yeah, the knitting itself is strange and it just feels weird to do something that I'm not good at, you know?
Well, yeah, but when you first started crocheting, you were
I
not
know,
that
but I
great
don't
at it
really remember
either.
what that feels like now. I just know that I can do it well and I can do it fast and I know what's right and I know what's wrong. Where it's like with this, it's just like if I have to undo a whole row, I'm like, I don't know how to put it back on the needles.
You can, if you're only undoing one row, you can just pick it off one at a time.
Yeah, I know. And I've if I have, but I have to think really hard about which way the loop should go back onto the needle to
Uh-huh.
avoid twisting it. And I can't remember who commented on one of our videos about, but they sent a link to somebody who kind of like investigated all the different ways to knit, which way to wrap the yarn around the
Oh
needle, because we
yeah,
had this
one of our
conversation, right?
listeners. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I went to it and it is actually, especially as somebody who doesn't knit, it was helpful. But because they talked about how there's basically, so many different ways to knit and so many different ways to purl. Because they were saying, like, obviously, so when you knit, you can put the, it's like how you insert the needle. Most people would just do it, one particular way, and then how you wrap the yarn around. Because you could do it from the back or you could do it from the front. And there's basically like a chart saying, if you knit this way, then you have to purl this way in order to not have twisted stitches.
Okay.
So not everyone necessarily knits the same way or purls the same way with like the direction
I
of the
see.
yarn. And now I feel like if I think about it too hard, I'm going to start knitting the wrong way or purling the wrong way.
Don't think about it too hard.
Yeah,
It's
I
not supposed to be that hard.
know. It
But if you
just
do it enough, it becomes second nature. And like sometimes, for a while, people ask you, say, which way am I supposed to, which way do I wrap? And I always have to
do it.
stop and think and do it. And it's like off the cuff. I couldn't tell them which way. I had to actually do the motion
Yeah.
myself before I could say. But I'm better about it now.
Uh-huh. But it feels like the actual motions of knitting. I don't know if it's just because I'm doing it really loose, but it does just feel like it feels looser than crocheting. Like my hands just feel looser.
Hmm. That could be true.
Or I could just be doing it slower. Don't know.
Well, I mean that's good because a lot of beginner knitters tend to make their stitches too tight, and then it gets hard to the next row to
Mm.
put your needle through the through the stitches or through the loops. So it's good that you're not. And I'm also a very loose knitter too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 2 whips for you.
Yep,
Anything
2
else?
whips. That's all.
Do you have any FOs?
I don't have any FOs.
I do.
What do you have?
I finished the Sinister Catdigan. It just needs buttons. It's been blocked. The ends have been woven in.
Oh my goodness.
And I even added
Oh, it looks so good.
afterthought pocket with a little kitty peeking out. So the pattern has an option for pockets, and it's actually a patch pocket where you
It's like
knit a little patch and you sew it on.
Uh-huh.
But I did, yeah, I'm not exactly sure what it's called, other than it's an afterthought, where I actually picked up. It's kind of like seeking, except it's not seeking, because seeking I think is defined by a vertical cut, and this is definitely not a vertical cut. It's a horizontal cut.
Uh-huh.
So I actually picked up stitches with 2 spare needles, like 1 row above and 1 row below, where I wanted to cut
Right.
the opening for the pocket, and then I cut it. I had the needles in the on the piece for like a few hours before I had the before I was brave enough to actually make the cut.
Yeah.
And I did document it, so I have a picture of the 2 needles
Yeah.
in the piece.
So you cut in between the needles then.
I cut in between the needles.
Yeah. So you just do that on just one side.
Yeah, I only have a pocket on the right side, not on the left side. So I picked the stitches back up, or I picked stitches up on along the needles, and essentially knitted a tube, and did a 3 needle bind off when it was the size I wanted it to be, and I tucked it back in, and then I picked up more stitches along the bottom edge of the tube to make I made a little bit of not a cuff, but a ribbed edge, a ribbed facing, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And then I duplicate stitched the cat onto the body of the sweater, so it looks like there's a cat peeking out of the
Just
pocket.
the outline of a cat, though. Or a black cat.
Yeah. So I showed that to Madeline already, and she's very pleased. So I am very happy with it.
Yeah, I think it looks really. I like. So like that kind of color I can deal with, because it's like mostly a gray sweater, and then the cats are also a neutral color, and then just like a bit of pink.
I was actually surprised that she picked pink, because she doesn't really wear a lot of pink.
I'm surprised she picked pink, yeah.
But she picked it, so I'm like, okay. I kept saying, "Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure?" And she's like, "Yes, I'm sure. I want it pink." I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make it pink, just like you asked for.
So speaking of knitting, I find myself with, once I've got stitches on the right side, I hold it like, instead of like holding it with all my fingers on one side and my thumb on the other, I hold it with like my thumb and my pointer finger on the side towards me, and I kind of hold it like that, so like my pointer finger is on that side. I just feel like I'm like a dinosaur, like holding it in a really weird grip. Yeah.
It doesn't matter how you hold it. Everybody has a different.
Yeah,
way
I know,
of
but
holding
it's just.
No, but I don't.
It just
I don't
seems
hold
weird.
it like this, like with my fist. How do I
How do you
do
hold
it?
it?
I hold it. I mean, I barely hold it with my right hand, because the piece is usually in my left hand, because I have to. So yeah, it's just. I mean, I'm lightly touching the piece, and I'm barely holding it in my right hand.
Right.
So, yeah, like I said, it doesn't really matter how you hold it, as long as you're consistent. And then as you get more comfortable with it, you may find yourself
Adapting.
Yeah, and holding it differently.
Yeah. It's just annoying not being good at something again. Cool.
it is very interesting that, I did teach you guys how to do both
Uh-huh.
and how you're a more accomplished crocheter and Emily has taken to the knitting.
Yeah, I think I have no idea why I decided to crochet again. Like, it was just because I was in London and I was just bored and just went to the shop and bought a ball of yarn and a crochet hook. But I could have easily just bought needles, but I just decided on crochet and I couldn't tell you why I decided crochet over knitting. And that's just how it's happened. If I had picked up bought needles instead, this would be a knitting podcast.
Knitting only.
Yeah.
Well, you did say that you wanted to crochet because there's too many knitting patterns to pick from, and
Well,
there's
I think
less
that's once I
crochet
started
patterns.
crocheting, it was kind of like,
Uh-huh.
right, I'm just gonna stick with this.
Hmm.
And I have for the most part.
Yep. And you're
But
doing a good job.
yeah, so but that's a big FO done, which I guess is why you felt okay to start a new sweater.
Yeah, the local yarn store is doing a knit along. For the month of August. You're supposed to finish up whips, and
I
like
see.
in the beginning, or the end of last month, you claim like which ones you're gonna finish, and you're not supposed to start any more new whips. But I was like, screw it, I'm gonna do some new, because Christmas is
Just around the
for a
corner.
knitter. It's just around the corner, and I
So
have
do
to
you
get this
have you
done.
planned like other Christmas presents that you're gonna knit?
There's only two Christmas presents I'm knitting, and that is for the two youngest nibblings. And because I don't generally knit for everybody in one year, except for that one year where I made hats for everybody.
Huh?
So well, there was one year where I made Christmas hats for like just
I
about
see.
everybody in the family, all the nibblings.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I usually don't make something for everybody. I
Yeah.
kind of like alternate who I'm making stuff for. And
Yeah.
the little girls are easier to knit for because they're smaller.
Yeah. But as you say,
They are smaller.
but you were just saying that she's practically adult sized now, just skinny.
Yeah. So it takes less time to make things for smaller people.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay.
Well, what you want to talk about?
Do you have a
Can I
yarny?
talk about my trip?
Yes, you can. What is that? Yarny bits and bobs?
Mm,
There's nothing yarny about
just
it, but you can talk about
yeah,
your trip.
I just want to talk about it because, especially because poor Violet wasn't able to go to Scotland for her summer holiday. But I'm obviously in Scotland for my whole summer. But I have actually gone on like a specific sort of holiday week away. We drove up to the Cairngorms, which is kind of south of like it's a massive. I guess they're mountains, and it's on Google Maps, parks and national reserves and stuff are like green on the map.
Mm-hmm.
It's a massive green area south of Inverness and east
You
of,
went to
sorry, west of Aberdeen.
So you went to the
Um,
green area.
so I went to a big, massive green area, to the Cairngorms. We stayed in Ballater. I don't know exactly where the emphasis on which syllables should be, but we stayed in Ballater, which is just east of Braemar, which is like the next biggest sort of town. And in between Braemar and Ballater is Balmoral Castle.
Uh-huh.
So it's very well hidden behind the pine trees, but we did get a few peeks of like the turrets and stuff. But yeah, no, it was a really, really good week away. The weather was amazing, and it was like the hills were just bright purple with the heather. So just like driving through the mountains, it's just purple, 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 purple on all sides, like just like legitimately purple. Like, because I've driven up in the Highlands and up in that sort of area before in like different times of year, but the heather, when it goes dry, it has more of like a reddy brown color.
Mm.
So the hills are quite reddy brown,
Mm-hmm.
but I'd never seen it like just in actual bloom purple. And yeah, so it was really cool. And just we did lots of walks through forests and stuff. And even in the forest, it's just trees and then more heather in between the trees, just purple again. And one of our walks that we did on the first day, it was either heather, ferns, or blaeberry bushes, which are all
Mm.
also called bilberries or whortleberries or huckleberries. And they look like really small blueberries, but they're the juice. When the juice was getting on you, it was actually like
Mm.
purpley bluey. They were a little tartar, so we were just eating that off the bushes. Like they were just berries everywhere. It was just a really good trip.
Nice.
Mm,
I
lots
didn't
of
go anywhere
nature.
or do anything.
um, I mean, I'll have to go again someday because
With
we
your
did do
mommy.
like, sure. We did, we saw lots of castles from the outside, but none of them were open yet because of
Mm-hmm.
COVID. I like naturey things, but I definitely also like sort of culture-y things. So it was a bit of a shame that I couldn't actually go inside the castles.
Well, that's nice
Um,
that you're able to at least explore a bit.
yeah, it was good to do a bit of Scotland, sort of our backyard-ish.
Mm-hmm. I'm just grateful that my knitting group. So for a while, for in the beginning of the lockdown and everything, we were just zooming.
Hmm.
Now, some of us are continuing to Zoom every week, and others, me included, we're joining the group outdoors in a covered
Hmm.
area, and it's been really nice. Even me, the person that hates the heat,
Yeah.
we meet at around 9ish, and we usually end around 11ish.
Uh-huh.
But because it's covered and the way the sun comes up, we're in the shade almost the whole entire time, and it's not so bad. There was one day that was really, really humid, but being in the shade really makes a big difference. So that's the only thing I've been doing is just going to knitting group. I don't generally even leave the house except to go to knitting because your dad does most of the grocery shopping
Uh-huh.
because he goes at the crack of dawn when there's nobody there when I'm still asleep. Uh, so yeah. Well, I'm glad you had a good time. I wish I could have gone.
Not that that was ever in the cards anyway. It
Yeah.
was a sort of last minute trip because originally we would be in the middle of the festival right now, but it's
Oh
canceled.
yeah, the Fringe
Yeah, it's like
Festival.
as we were walking, somebody said like, just think, like if things had gone to plan, we'd be in some tiny sweaty room watching a comedian right now.
Yeah, and sweaty is a good description because
Yeah.
everybody's sweaty. Did you want to talk about the Umbrella Academy in our Nerdtastic?
Sure. So, I guess probably spoilers for anyone who hasn't
Haven't
watched it
watched.
or is going plans on watching it, but yeah. How did you feel about the fact basically it was like the same thing happening again, like the whole apocalypse thing?
I was a little annoyed at that, but I was more annoyed that it's like if they talk to each other,
Uh-huh.
you wouldn't repeat the same mistake. Because like they're not talking, they need to like communicate better because they're keeping either too much stuff to themselves or and
Yeah.
things get messed up because not everybody has the same information. But then there are seven of them, or seven, six of them,
Uh-huh.
because the seventh one is dead and he can only communicate to one person.
Yeah.
Um,
But although so with obviously with season 1, Vanya literally
blows
like
up the
causes
world.
the end of the world.
Uh
But
huh.
with this one, it's kind of like a knock-on effect. Like she doesn't directly cause it, but she like indirectly causes it.
Yeah. Poor Vanya.
Yeah. Yeah. Vanya. Uh,
uh, but
um,
like we mentioned earlier, I was really impressed with the kid that plays number 5, the boy.
uh-huh. Mm. Well, you also the other comment you said was that the guy who plays Klaus is annoying.
Yes. And then I was watching something on YouTube. I was like, oh my God, that's the annoying kid from the Misfits.
Yeah, from Misfits is another sort of it's a UK show, and it's kind of about superheroes, but kind of not.
The
But he
kids
also
that get
plays,
superpowers. Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I didn't actually watch it. I just kind of watched it over your shoulder while you watched it on your
yeah,
laptop.
yeah.
And so I would like ask questions. Like I don't remember everybody's superpower. I just remember that he was the one with the hair and he was really annoying. And half the time I'd have to ask you, what did he say? Because I couldn't understand his accent.
uh, Robert Robert, yeah. But he's Irish, so he has his Irish accent in Misfits, I think. Maybe
Does he?
maybe it's not an Irish accent.
I don't think so. Or was it
I
his
don't know, but
accent? It was
he
some
plays
of the
he
girl
plays with
I
an
couldn't
American
understand either.
accent.
In yeah, in they're
In
all
the Umbrella
American. They're all
Academy.
supposed to be
But
American
I
in
kind
the
of
Umbrella
like
Academy.
I like his character, and when Ben dies for real, that made me pretty sad.
Yes, that was very sad. So it's
But
kind of
so
hard to go
I don't know.
ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that it's kind of hard to explain that they're kids with superpowers, and then they're not really superheroes, are they? I guess they were, and then they're not, and
Yeah. So
now they're
basically, the
not.
whole idea is that like they were all born on the same day at the exact same time, but like inexplicably, their mothers. Was that the case for all of them? Their mothers weren't
Yeah,
actually pregnant, and then like
in the beginning of the day, but by the end of the day, they had a
they were
baby.
pregnant, yeah. And so this mysterious man obtains some of these children, and it turns out they have superpowers. And so he's obviously trying to train them to be superheroes, but as adults, they're all a bit messed up.
Because he wasn't a very good father.
No.
They have daddy
And
issues.
yeah, so there's time apocalypse happens, there's time travel elements to it, and now obviously with season 3 coming, the big spoilers, they've ended up in this alternate timeline. But I was reading a review about the time travel elements and how it actually doesn't really make sense from a time travel perspective because
Uh-huh.
it just doesn't. They've obviously like changed too much of the timeline, and then the fact that number 5 makes his younger, quote unquote, previous self go to go through to do the calculation to do like the time traveling without the suitcase, but he helps his previous self get the calculations right, which means he wouldn't have turned into a kid again.
Yeah, but I think didn't it get messed up when I don't know the fire extinguisher gets thrown through and all
Yeah,
this
no,
other
I don't know.
stuff.
But anyway, but so part of the review was saying that suggested if you wanted to watch a show where the time travel aspect is meticulously done, it's a show called Dark on Netflix. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
It's it's a few years old now. There's like 3
Mm-hmm.
seasons. It's in German,
Mm-hmm.
and when I first played it, it automatically started playing with dubbed English.
Mm-hmm.
So I've switched it to the original German and just reading the subtitles. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's time travel elements of that as well. And I've like binge watched. I'm on like halfway through the second season. I think I've been watching it the last like 2 days. Like it's just with the scrap blanket, I'm able because it's a little bit slow, so there isn't like a lot of dialogue. There's not too much dialogue, so I can just look up when I need to look up
Uh-huh.
because I'm just doing sort of mindless crocheting. But yeah, so the time travel aspects of that is really meticulous. If one character goes back in time and changes something, it doesn't actually change anything because it had always happened that
The
way,
way,
and
yeah, okay.
yeah, and stuff like that. So like it all kind of makes sense, but it also doesn't make sense because there's like mystery and you don't know what's going on. But I
No,
would
I
recommend
don't
it because I have
I don't know
obviously
that
enjoyed it.
I wouldn't be able to watch with your father because he doesn't like to read his TV shows.
You could just watch the dubbed English.
Oh, I guess so. I hate watching things dubbed, so
Well,
there's
you can just look
that.
down and crochet. But it took me a second to realize it was dubbed because it starts with a voiceover,
Uh-huh.
and then yeah, I must not have been looking at people's like faces while they were
Faces.
speaking the first few lines, and then I looked
Uh-huh.
up and I was like, wait.
Well, I suppose I mostly hate watching Chinese
Chinese.
movies dubbed
Yeah.
in English because it doesn't match at all. I wonder if it's like if it was in German because German is actually very close to English.
No, I think it's still,
It still makes a big difference.
I think
Yeah.
so.
Anyway, so maybe I'll watch it on my own,
Mm. But yeah, it's
but then I wouldn't be able
interesting.
to knit while I'm watching.
Uh, maybe once you get to the stockinette part of your sweater, because
Yeah.
yeah, it's like I said, like you can kind of
Mhm.
just look up when somebody starts talking.
Mhm. Okay, that's a good recommendation then.
Hmm.
Well, I do have some shop talk.
Oh, cool.
I haven't done that in a couple of episodes. The Lillian bags that I introduced a few weeks ago on the podcast, they went like hotcakes. So a lot of people like them. They are back in stock, the original two, which has the daisy print and also the one with
Sort of botanical leaves.
the gray botanicals. Those are back because it took me a while to
Source the
get the
leather.
leather again to figure out how to do the leather. And I have two new ones. The first one is a hydrangea. It has the gray contrast fabric with and the pattern has hydrangeas on it. They're pink
Are those
and kind of
hydrangeas?
coral. I don't know. They look like hydrangeas. They're little tiny flowers all like together in a big ball. So aren't they hydrangeas? I think they
I don't
are.
think the right shape.
They're when you see them, they're like a big circle.
Yeah. I think it's just like flowers in a circle.
Okay. Well, I'm calling it hydrangeas.
Okay.
And the second one is a dandelion pattern on a coral fabric. The background is coral
Oh,
and
that's
the
nice. Yeah.
dandelions are white and the contrast is the natural linen.
I'd be curious to know if more people are using this as traveling, actually taking the totes with them, or as storage
Uh,
basket.
well, I mean, you can use them as regular
Either.
tote bags.
Yeah.
I've sold a few to my knitting group and they're just using it as their purse/knitting bag.
They're very cute.
So those are the two new bags, and they're already listed.
In the shop.
And that's it. And I'm continuing to
In your
make more bags.
Pearl and Plum Etsy
yes,
shop.
I always forget that. Our shop is called Pearl and Plum. I'm not a very good advertiser.
Well, will we say goodbye?
Yeah, we have nothing else to talk about.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you can find the show notes for the episode on our website, which is kcacypodcast.wordpress.com. You can also follow us on Instagram. The same, it's kcacy podcast, and that's kcacy standing for keep calm and carry yarn. My personal Instagram is Alyson here, and my mom's is upstate_viv. And you can also subscribe and like and comment and all that good stuff on YouTube, as well as wherever else you get your audio podcasts, whether that's Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever. You can join the Ravelry group if you are so inclined. Just search for Keep Calm and Carry On podcast in the groups tab. So thank you for listening.
And remember to keep calm and carry yarn.